Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I am going to be talking about Jupiter in Sagittarius 2018 to 2019 transit, part 2 of 3. And in this segment, I'm going to talk about this transit's possible impact on the zodiac signs Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, and Virgo. And yes, it does apply and pertain to the Sun, Moon, and Ascendant for these signs. So anyway, well, as far as Aries goes, well, the 9th house is what's going to be emphasized and highlighted. So this could be very fortuitous for Aries, for jocularity, joviality with in-laws, grandchildren, even foreigners. This could be very auspicious, perhaps for even teaching, perhaps in a foreign country. This could also, given that Jupiter, of course, as I've talked about in previous videos, can be paradoxical, very strongly benign and benevolent, but it could also have a tendency to enlarge and expand. It may very well, in some cases, expand and enlarge foolhardy, over-optimistic, self-righteous behavior over really with these people. And even, this could even, you need to guard at this time being overly self-righteous in your belief system, in your philosophies at this time. And the thing about this is this could also be very fortunate for really, it could be for far as publishing, it could be for the law. It could be even like, for example, sports publishing could be an example. This could be something like also very auspicious. It could be also very good and auspicious for importing, exporting business with foreigners, perhaps at this time as well. And also just for simply putting a lot of exuberance and enthusiasm into 9th house matters, such as your higher education, philosophy, the law even. It could be doing things connected with publishing. It could be a good time for something Sagittarius related that could be published, such as something with sports or traveling, something connected with foreigners, the law perhaps, anything again sports related, or even archery, horses, something that could be Sagittarius related. So anyway, well, next up is, as far as Taurus goes, the 8th house is what will be emphasized and highlighted. Now, this could be very, a lot of hope and optimism through positivity, dealing with a crisis. Perhaps for Taurus, this could be a time, too, that could be very, for Taurus, very fortuitous, perhaps for making some kind of religious or philosophical transformation. It could be something also where this could be very lucky for Taurus, really through some kind of rebirth, regeneration, such as like sport. Since we're talking about Jupiter and Sagittarius, could be very fortuitous, say for sports rehab. Say if Taurus is trying to recover from some kind of injury, this could be a good time for rehabbing, because remember, the 8th house is connected with rebirth and regeneration. And also, it could be a very beneficial period for Taurus for perhaps publishing something as far as something very philosophical, perhaps connected with psychology, the supernatural, astrology, psychiatry, death, anything that could be 8th house related. Now, also too, again, as I've stated before, Jupiter being very paradoxical can have not just being very benign and benevolent, but could also have the tendency to enlarge and expand. In some cases, this could enlarge and expand, perhaps foolhardy, self-righteous, over-optimistic, even blunt and tactless behavior. Perhaps someone you may be in an intimate relationship with, or sexual connection, or even in some kind of shared resources situation. Could even be a business connection you may have with somebody. Also, too, this could be a lot of expanded jocularity and joviality, perhaps with somebody you might be in perhaps a sexual or intimate relationship and just 8th house people in general. It could be people you may know in insurance or taxes or astrology, the supernatural, the occult. Also, too, for this could also be a time for, remember that 8th house is about moral, emotional, monetary support. So this could be about really very auspicious and fortuitous time for Taurus, perhaps for getting more moral, emotional support with a lot of that encouragement, a lot of that Sagittarius-like encouragement, and very and really done in a very philanthropic way. Perhaps since we're talking about Sagittarius energy, and this could also be very positive for Taurus for perhaps coming into an inheritance, perhaps that maybe could be shared from somebody else. Might not even be necessarily from, when I'm saying somebody else is what I'm referring to, is that it may not be necessarily, I mean, inheritance don't necessarily have to come from a close, from a family, somebody that could be a family member. It could be something from perhaps a friend or friend's relative, maybe, or something, and you may be able to, and something may happen for you, Taurus, at this time, as far as that goes, although most inheritance, of course, comes from somebody that Taurus is more strongly connected with, so more of a direct connection, such as a family member or a close friend passing. So anyway, well, the next thing up is as far as Gemini goes. Well, for Gemini, this could be very lucky and fortunate for perhaps maybe for foreign relationships. It could be foreign relations in general, expanding sports. It could be sports connections or religious connections, people you may know in the law or some kind of travel industry or publishing. Also, too, and as I've stated before, this Jupiter can also, I mean, could have a tendency to enlarge and expand. It could expand over optimism, perhaps over being overly cocky or cocksure, perhaps perhaps in attempts to defeat open adversaries. But at the same time, it could be very fortuitous for that. It could also be, I mean, it could be very positive for those things, and also being very optimistic in doing so. This could expand exuberance and enthusiasm in matters connected with others in general, and collaborating with others on projects, perhaps. And also, too, at the same time, this could also enlarge and expand over optimism, recklessness, foolhardiness, self-righteousness in relationships, business partnership situations, and even matters pertaining to the law. So Gemini, at this time, it's important to remember that you're not above the law, even though you like to outmaneuver people and outsmart people in situations, and very often are able to do. You know, just for the Geminis out there, you know, most of you don't have to worry about it, but the few of you that might be rather mischievous and, you know, might think you might be above the law in certain ways, it's going to be very, I mean, just to remember that even Geminis, I mean, Geminis can only outsmart people for, you know, a certain period, and it certainly, you know, you can only, the law could always catch up with you, just for the few out there that may be involved, you know, if you're doing something that may be, you know, that may be corrupt. I know most people aren't, but I'm just saying, if there's anybody out there that sees this and is a Gemini, Sun, Moon, or Ascendant, it's important to remember that the law, you know, is not, I mean, the law will eventually catch up with just about anybody. So anyway, that being said, this could also be a lot of hope and really a lot of really benevolence toward others as well during this time. And really, and that's pretty much as far as Gemini goes. Well, the next thing up is we're talking as far as the zodiac sign Cancer goes. Well, the 6th house is what is emphasized and highlighted for Cancer. So at this time for Cancer, this could really be about really, as I've stated before, I mean, being paradoxical, Jupiter can also have a tendency to enlarge and expand despite being very strongly benign and benevolent. This could expand and enlarge Sagittarius health-related matters. It could be issues with the thighs, the liver, the sciatic nerve, and especially if this is making an inconjunct aspect to one's ascendant at this time. Remember that Cancer ascendant generally doesn't have a robust constitution, so it's really something to look at during this time, especially for Cancer rising people. If you're having this inconjunct aspect being made to your ascendant by Jupiter, and you will at some point during the transit, depending on your Cancer rising degree. Hold on a moment, people. Anyway, people, sorry about that. Also, too, this could also manifest perhaps in a lot of exuberance and enthusiasm in Sagittarius work-related matters such as philosophy, working as an interpreter, working with translation, foreign relations, being a professor, publishing, even something with the law. And also, this could be a lot of hope and optimism, and it's really about being positive in the daily routine at this time. And really, given that this is going to be, Sagittarius energy can be about the veritable truth, and this could expand and enlarge those kind of people in your daily routine at this time. And really, and also too, this also can, the sixth house also is about, could be an aunt or an uncle. So it could really be very positive for dealings with those people at this time as well. And a lot of, really enlarging and expanding perhaps a lot of benevolence and connection with these people, and showing a lot of exuberance and enthusiasm, and also with a lot of that Sagittarius philanthropic energy, and perhaps being of service to others as well at this time. So anyway, next thing up. As far as Leo goes, the fifth house is what will be emphasized and highlighted. So for Leo, this could be a lot of luck and fortune, perhaps could be through sports gambling. Now also keep in mind though, again, about Jupiter being paradoxical, this could expand and enlarge recklessness and over-exuberance in gambling matters. It could even sometimes manifest in maybe a compulsive issue. Pluto is generally connected with compulsive issues, but if you're talking about expanded issues and you're talking about the fifth house, the house connected with speculation and gambling, sometimes this could do this. It depends on the aspects a lot as well. Say if this is making an adverse aspect to one's Pluto, one's natal chart, at that time it could indicate perhaps some compulsive issues as far as that goes. And if it's making an adverse aspect to Venus, say, this could, or something, it could indicate that more of a propensity to lose through this emphasized speculation. So it's important as far as that goes. Remember, Sagittarius can be very self-righteous energy, and energy saying, I'm going to do this, I don't care when anybody says, of this very fearless type energy. So it's very important to keep that in mind during this time. Also too, this could expand a lot of jocularity and joviality with children, people you may know in maybe I should say a romantic partner. But also at times this could be very strong foolhardiness and superficial relationships. But also this could also indicate in some cases a lot of hope and optimism with expansive energy, really in some kind of Sagittarius hobbies. It could be something with sports or adventure, exploration, camping, doing something at the outdoors in general, something with horses, or even, target practice, something where aim is required. Sagittarius is the sign, of course, that likes to aim. They often may hit others, figuratively speaking, of course, with their harsh arrows of that veritable truth, but they very seldom, of course, Sagittarius energy very seldom misses their mark. So anyway, another thing too, it could also be very fortuitous for personal popularity, in doing so by showing benevolence and goodwill. And at the same time, it could show a lot of enlarged, expanded, foolhardy, reckless behavior and over-optimism in investments as well, so things of a speculative nature. So be careful at this time. I mean, when you're talking about Jupiter and Sagittarius, a lot of times it feels like everything can go right. There's no flaws in it. I mean, everything seems foolproof, but it's also important to read the fine print and things, because Sagittarius energy generally is one that's not going to, really be analyzing details as much, say, like Virgo. This energy is more visionary. It's more about just kind of seeing things, getting maybe certain feels for something without really just understanding more of a whole picture, as opposed to analyzing and scrutinizing details and seeing fine print and things. So it's important to keep that in mind during this time. Well, last but not least, as far as Virgo goes, the fourth house is what will be emphasized and highlighted. So at this time for Virgo, well, this could be auspicious perhaps for publishing something that could be sports related, something with religion, the law, something connected with travel. It could be out of the home or something. I mean, it also could be very fortuitous for a lot of happiness and joy, perhaps for who you are at the core. And really, and again, as I've stated before about Jupiter being paradoxical, this can enlarge and expand at times foolhardy, self-righteous, over-optimistic, and reckless behavior, perhaps from family members. It could be the less dominant parent, which is often the mother, or someone you feel close to home with. And it could be just in matters at home in general, such as activities, whether it's renovating the home or doing something, some project at home, kind of like, this is my way, I could do it right this way. Your opinion doesn't count in this. So it's important to look at the self-righteous element possibly in this as far as this energy goes. Now also too, this could also be putting a lot of exuberance and enthusiasm perhaps into Sagittarius-like traditions, such as something with comedy, humor, sports, religion, philosophy. It could also be very positive, maybe doing something connected with translation, interpretation out of the home, and really just having a lot of really also too could be very fortuitous, perhaps for matters connected with roots and ancestry at this time, and really doing and really going and trying to get this information perhaps with a lot of exuberance, optimism, and enthusiasm. So anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment for my take on the Jupiter and Sagittarius 2018 to 2019 transit, part 2 of 3. And stay tuned next time, where I'm going to be continuing my series on the Jupiter and Sagittarius 2018 to 2019 transit. It will be part 3, and I'll talk about the transit's possible impact on the zodiac signs Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces. 2 things I want to get with you on before I head out. Firstly, the stars may impel but do not compel. And secondly, never isolate any single astrological element, aspect, planetary placement, position, configuration, influence, or what have you, and make an analysis of a person, astrologically speaking, based on this alone, because astrologically speaking, the person is the sum of all their components in their natal chart and not just one. Until next time, people, stay well.